You're here either because you're thinking about upgrading from your Wyze Cam Pan version 1 to the Wyze Cam Pan version 2, or you're looking for a pan tilt camera for the very first time. Either way, you're in the right place. Hello, I am Wanderer001 and this is my review of the Wyze Cam Pan version 2, which surprisingly looks a lot like the Wyze Cam Pan version 1. To start off, I'm just going to rattle through some general specifications just in case this is your first time looking at the Wyze Cam Pan product line, or if you're a person looking to upgrade from the version 1 to the version 2, to give you a general understanding of what you'd be getting with the version 2 here. You are, 1, looking at colored night vision and the introduction of the starlight sensor that was first put into the version 3. Well, that is in the version 2, so if you're familiar with that, reviewing the corner there of the version 3, you know that you're going to get superior low light color imagery from this than you would from the version 1. This is a pan tilt zoom camera, so it will rotate this way as well as has a lens that goes up and down and left to right. You can zoom in on the picture by pinching to zoom up to 8 times. That is digital zoom, not optical zoom. There is no optical zoom with this. This will give you 1080 full HD video feed and recordings if you use the micro SD card or save to the cloud. Those cloud clips are either 12 seconds if you do not pay for a Cam Plus subscription, or if you pay for Cam Plus, you can have longer video clips. Those clips do last 14 days in the cloud before they are removed and replaced with newer clips. This particular camera also does motion tracking, so if it detects something in its scene, it will follow it if you set that up using the app, which we'll talk about a little later. It also does have real-time two-way audio using the speaker in the back there, which we will get to momentarily, but that just means you could talk to whoever's on the other end. It does have night vision capability with 6 IR lights on the side up to 30 feet away, and with the new starlight sensor, it can distinguish 18 variations of gray. What does that mean? It just means you have a sharper picture at night when the starlight sensor is bringing in all that information and it's too dark to see color and your IR lights turn on. These are newer IR lights than they were on the version 1 in that they are similar to what they use for the distance IR lights in the outdoor camera review over there in the corner, where you can't actually see them unless you're looking really, really closely. This camera also does have the ability to record continuously to a micro SD card. If you're looking for localized storage, this is one place to look to get it. There also is supposed to be a siren feature, but at time of recording, it is still not yet shown up in the application. So similar to the version 3 siren, I'm assuming, but right now that has not been turned on. But no, in the future, that it's coming to the version 2 here. Well, with the general specifications and all that fun, happy stuff out of the way, hopefully that gives you a little insight as to what you're getting with the version 2 for the very first time, or an upgrade from the version 1 to the version 2. Obviously, this is a smart home device, which means there is going to be a setup process. So let's tangent and take a look at how the setup process was for the Cam Pan version 2. This will be the setup process for the Wyze Cam Pan version 2 here. To start, you open up your Wyze application, come up to the corner and select Add a Device. And then what do you want to add? In this case, we're going to add cameras, and right down here we can see Cam Pan version 2. We are prompted to plug in our camera, so I use the included wall wart and power adapter, and I'm just going to stick that right into the base, which does swivel, which is going to be a little tricky. There we go. You might not see it, but there is a blinking red light right there. Once you see the blinking red light, you will have to turn the Cam Pan over and press the setup button located here.
Ready to connect.
And there you should have heard ready to connect. I'm going to select yes, I heard that, and do next. After which it's going to make us select our Wi-Fi network. I'm just going to move it over to my IoT network. After which it's going to display a QR code on my cell phone screen. I'm merely going to show that
QR code scanned
to the camera, select I have heard QR code scanned, and press next. Bringing this back into view, we are now connecting to our Cam Pan device. And obviously it's saying it could take a few minutes. Oh, there we go. It's even
setup completed.
It is connected to my Alexa device. We will leave it as Cam Pan version 2. So you do have the option of using Cam Plus with this for person detection. In this case, generally they'll give you like a 2-week free sample. I will select continue, and then do we want to share this device? No, we don't want to share this device, and then it's going to turn itself on. So we're going to aim that over at the corner of my workstation. There always is going to be an upgrade, so you're going to select upgrade, but if I move my hand in front of the camera there, and we'll do it actually over here so you can see it in real time, got a pretty decent view there. So that would be the setup process minus the firmware upgrade, which generally takes about 2 minutes. So that will be the setup process for the Wyze Cam Pan version 2. Not too bad, under 3 minutes if you're not filming this for YouTube. As you saw there, the setup process for the version 2 is not terrible. Wyze has done a very good job of making the setup process for their products very simple. Let's talk about the general hardware that we're looking at for the version 2. On the front of the camera, you have the rotating lens right here with the, as stated before, 6 IR lights, 3 on either side. Down here, you have your microphone and your LED status light. The status light will be blue if the camera is on, red if it is recording, or if somebody is actively looking through it. I do appreciate that that is there, but also able to be turned off via the application, which we'll talk about a little later. There's nothing to look at on the top. We'll come around to the back right here, and this is the new back of the Pan 2. It is different from the Pan 1 in that it is missing the USB port on the back because the Cam Pan 2 does not accept the Wyze bridge, which is no longer being offered by Wyze. So you get a larger grid in the back for a speaker. My one problem with this is this grid and back panel, like I can feel it flexing under my thumb just with a little push. And I have seen other reviewers where this back panel is kind of like bulging out. I'm not gonna call out any names, but I don't know how I feel about this back panel. It feels a little flimsy. Could be early adopter because I did get this pre-ordered when it first came out. Hopefully that'll be something that they get squared away later on. On the bottom here, well, obviously this is a rotating device. So here you have your rotating foot with micro USB port plugged in to the bottom of the foot pedestal, which makes it a little tricky when you're trying to actually plug this in. Not terrible, but just tricky because this can move even if it's not turned on. You do have right there, if you want to attach this to a tripod, you've got your tripod mount right there. You've got your reset button right there. You have your set up pin right there. And then right there is the spot for your micro SD card. And I will say, just like before with the version 1, because, well, like I said, it's exactly the same hardware footprint wise, the micro SD card location can be a little tricky to get it in and out because the foot does come very, very close to where you're putting in the micro SD card. So I recommend using either a paper clip, fold it over and just push it in, or if you have somebody who has nails who can push that, I recommend doing it that way because that can be a little tricky to get in or out of the Pan Cam version 2. Pan Cam version 2 also does come with a micro USB cable and power brick. It is a 6-foot cable, which I do appreciate, and they did keep the fact that you have a detachable cable from the power brick itself. So if you needed a longer cable, you can get one and still attach it to the Wyze Cam Pan version 2. The Wyze Cam itself uses the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum, so that is not going to be your 5 gigahertz spectrum for connecting to your Wi-Fi and to the application. And the maximum micro SD card that you can get is 32. Yes, there are people who say they could put a 64 gigabyte card in here. However, Wyze, the company, states that 32 is the maximum that you should be putting in. Just some food for thought. But I did mention the application because, well, that is going to be how you view your actual Wyze Cam Pan footage, as well as do some controlling of that. So why don't we take a look at the application for the Wyze Cam Pan version 2. This is the Wyze app for the Wyze Cam Pan version 2. I have it listed here at the top. You can see that it is currently listed as on. And what we're going to do is we're going to select the Wyze Cam Pan version 2 to bring up a live feed from this particular camera. Your basic navigation screen here will display over here on the left whether you're in HD or standard def. Selecting this will allow you to switch to standard def, 360p, cancel, or leave it in HD. I'm going to leave it in HD. You can also see the data that is being used currently, and it demonstrates that it is live. Over here you have an indication that it is set for auto, which is auto night vision. Selecting this will change it to night vision on, or we can turn night vision off, or place it back on auto. Do keep in mind that this has Wyze's new starlight sensor, so you actually won't switch over to night vision mode quite as soon as you would with some of their older products. Coming down to the actual live feed right here, you'll notice that there is a button in the corner here. Doing that will bring us into the actual full screen mode, which you can then pinch to zoom so that you can see what's going on. There is a cat right there. We'll just back this out a little bit, and selecting back in the corner brings us back to our main page here. We can turn on or off the sound. We can select record, which will record a live feed of what's going on right now. Selecting speak will now have my voice going through the Wyze camera. And as you can see, kind of freaked my cat out as he runs away. So I feel a little bad about that, but that will allow you to have two-way audio. You have your take a photo, so whatever you're seeing here, if you wanted to, snap a photo, and it saves it to the media gallery for your Wyze device. There is a more button here. Selecting this, motion tagging, you probably saw when the cat was running away that there was a green box around him. That is the motion tagging. Differentiate where the movement's actually coming from. It is one of the things that Wyze does very well that I like. Motion tracking, turning this on or off. If there's movement, what will happen is the camera will actually follow it. So that's a good feature to have with something called the Wyze Cam Pan. Coming back, we will select pan scan and then continue. What this will do is allow you to set up 4 zones. And here you go. That would be under the settings. So I'm going to leave that on for the time being. I kind of have set zones already. And what this will do is every 10 seconds, go to a different zone. If we come down to album, this is where all of your saved stuff is. So here's all my test videos. Here's my photo that I took but didn't actually save. We'll come back here. If you wanted to, you can actually click on it, bring it up. You can share, hear the sound, or delete this item. We're gonna go back to our main page here again. And time lapse. Time lapse is actually something really cool, which has been added to a lot of the newer Wyze cameras, which will allow you to take a time lapse video from the Wyze Cam itself. You set your start time, your end time, and then the interval. Remember, with a time-lapse video, it actually isn't a video, but rather a stitching together of a bunch of photos that are taken, and then the software puts them together. We're going to select back because we're not actually going to do that. One of the things that they haven't changed from the original Pan Cam to the version 2 is every time I select an option, it always brings me out of that more menu. I wish they would let me stay there. This big button here is actually one of the main reasons that you got the Cam Pan, and that is the ability to actually pan the camera. So here we go, we're moving it around, can move it down and up, and it even gives you a notice now when you reach the limitation of any of its panning. You may have noticed that's a little smoother than the original version 2, and I will admit the upgraded processor that they put into the version 2, while it's only a small incremental step up, does help smooth out the video quite a bit. Down here we have a big play button, and yes, what this will do is allow you to scrub back through your timeline. Now, this particular camera does not stay on all the time, so here you can see these green markers are actually indications of when my camera was on and recording. And there you have a recorded view of my living room early this morning. If I wanted to, I can select play the sound from the recording. I can record what I see in real time. I can pause what I'm looking at. I can take a photo directly from here, or I can select the album to see where my recording or my photo went. I can also just select go back to my live stream, and here it's now currently what we're staring at right now. And that's the basic navigation and functionality of the Wyze Cam Pan version 2. Now we're going to come up to the sprocket or cog icon right here, selecting this because this is where we actually get into a lot of the options behind the version 2. Up here at the top you have the ability to change the name for your Wyze Cam Pan version 2. You have your detection settings. Selecting this will allow you to select the sensitivity of the detection, whether you want to have a detection zone. So if you set a detection zone, just like all the other Wyze products now, they actually have this grid which you can highlight where you want your detection zone to be. I'm going to clear that for the time being. You do also notice that you have the controls right here so that you can move your camera around if you wanted to. You have sound sensitivity, so if you want to be notified if there's a sound, this is where you would change the sensitivity for that. Next, we have event recording. You can schedule whether it's all day. If you turn that off, you could set specific days and times where it's actually recording. I just leave it on all day and then have the camera turn on or off based on rules that I've set up. Detect motion is turned on, detect sound is turned off. Here you have Cam Plus AI detection. This is only if you have a Cam Plus subscription. You can select person, package, vehicle. Pet detection is rolled in here as well, so it will notify you if it does detect a pet, which is mainly why I got this, to keep track of my pets. So that was event recordings. We're moving on to notifications, and it's letting you know that it's notifications plus because I have the subscription trial right now for this camera. Notifications are turned on only when it detects a Wyze event, which is person, package, pet. I can select all other motion, so if it senses any motion, it'll send a notification, or I can send a notification for a sound event. So notifications and event recordings are two different things. One is the camera taking action, the other is the camera notifying you that there was something that happened. Keep that in mind. Alarm settings, here we go, smoke and CO2. There is no actual CO2 or smoke detection built into the camera. It is, however, listening for those sounds because they are standardized now, so if it detects those sounds and you don't notice it because you don't hear it, this will let you know, so you'll get a notification sent to your phone. Advanced settings. I also have a micro SD card in this particular camera, so record to the micro SD card, continuous or event only. I can manage the SD card. Here it's letting you know how much I've used and how much is left. If you format the card, which you should do when you first put it in, it will erase anything that was on there. You can also eject the card from here. Motion controls. Here you have the speed at which the camera will pan. 5 is what it's normally set at, so all of the demonstrations that I've done will be using 5. You have your pan scan setting, so this is where I was telling you it can pick point, 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 and then rotate every 10 seconds through that. So we're going to say set. We're going to move this slightly over here and select set. Then we add a new point. Oop, a little too far. Set. And move this slightly this way, and set. You can do up to 4, but I can also just have 3 and select preview. What it will do now is it will show me these are the points that you did. You can also move the camera up or down, so if you don't like just having the flat linear view that I did, you can actually move it up and down based on the location. So again, every 10 seconds, that will rotate if you select the pan scan. I am not going to do that, and we're just going to leave that alone. Reset, what that will do is your camera will then proceed to rotate around in a circle and then come back to its home position. The home position is very important, which I mentioned before, because if you have the camera zoomed in on the left and the camera pointed down, that's not the home position anymore. The reset will put it back to 0 state, which is wherever you start the position of the camera. Night vision, on or off, so auto on or off. This is how you can change that if you wanted to do so from a deeper menu level. Night vision conditions, so you can set it for a dark environment before the night vision turns on, or a low light at dusk. I have dark because the starlight sensor that is in the Wyze Cam Pan actually makes it so that at dusk it still can see what's going on pretty well with decent color range. So I have it when it's completely dark to turn that on. IR lights, here you go. This is how you can toggle on and off your IR lights. Camera status light, when the camera is on, that will be blue. If somebody's actively looking through it or it's recording, it will be red. I do appreciate that they give you the ability to turn off the status light if you don't want to have a light somewhere visible. Rotate the image 180 degrees. Well, you can mount the camera upside down if you wanted to, if you have the hardware to do so, and then you rotate your image so you're not looking at an upside down image in your app. Show timestamp, show logo, those are the images that appear in the corner. You have the Wyze logo and then the date and time. I like having both just so I know what camera is giving me what information from date and time. Record sound, I do record the sound, though often I don't listen to it, but you want to make sure that that's on. And then way down here at the bottom is sync time. with your mobile device. You can set up rules for your camera. So I have set up a rule where it turns on at midnight and then turns off at 6 a.m. so that I know it's only recording when I'm not actively in that area. So that's where you could set that up. Sharing, if you wanted to share this device with somebody else, they need to have a Wyze account, but you can give them access to this device to view your feed if they need access to that. Device information, this is going to give you information about your device, MAC address, things of that nature. More technical stuff, don't necessarily need to go in there. Then you have Wyze support built right into the application. Again, as I've stated before, I like that this is here because it makes it so that I don't have to go looking for Wyze support should I have a problem with this particular thing. It gathers that information and passes it along. And then restart the camera. Well, if you need to do a reset of your camera, you just come in here, it will restart the thing from scratch and then bring it back online. Delete device is down here at the bottom, but if you're using it, I wouldn't recommend deleting your device. And we're gonna go back because that was all of our settings for the Wyze Cam Pan version 2. I'm gonna bring you back to the front page for one last explanation, which is this down here at the bottom. Right now we are down here at the home screen, which will show all of your cameras and Wyze devices. Events is an aggregate area for your camera's clipped things. If you have Wyze Cam Plus subscription, you can have clips that are more than 12 seconds long. If you do not, then you won't have those types of clips. You will also not get person notifications. If we want to, we can come in here and select I just want to see for the Cam Pan version 2, and then here you can see all the things for the version 2. Like right here, it says that it detected a person. Well, right now I'm going to tell you that is not a person. That is actually my cat wandering around. So we know that if we want to help the Wyze AI, we come down here, we say yes, this was not a person, this was a pet, and then submit results, and there you go. And that lives under the events area right here. And the other things are monitoring, shopping, and then your overall Wyze account information. If you don't have Wyze Home Monitoring, you don't have to worry about that. Shopping, if you want to shop for new Wyze products through the app itself, you can check them out there. Normally they'll have features and things that are on sale. Right here you can see when I'm recording. This is right before the new Wyze doorbell comes out. And then again, account setting is just that, it's your account. So this has been a walkthrough of the Wyze Cam Pan version 2 portion of the Wyze application. Coming back, we have a few other comparison notes for the version 2 versus the version 1 because, well, you're probably wondering, but it didn't make it into the quick hits up front. I did some testing because when the Cam Pan 1 turns on, there is like an initial click sound when the motor is turning on, and I wanted to compare that to the version 2. So here's what we get when we compare the two for their startup noises.
Pan 2 versus original. Original on right. Starting original now. Clicks when it starts. No clicking when this starts.
Likewise, I wanted to see if they made any improvements with the motor noise, which was definitely noticeable both in video but also when the Cam Pan 1 was moving. So here is a test of the audio sample between the version 1 and the version 2.
Motor movement test, original first. Now version 2. Back to center.
As you heard, they definitely have made some improvements with those sounds from the version 1 to the version 2, and part of that could be due to the slightly increased processor that they put into the version 2. That also does help the visual quality of the video between the version 2 and the version 1. Here I'll roll in some quick sample footage of comparing the version 2 to the version 1, in which you can see, just based on the newer sensor and the slightly increased processor in the version 2, that you're going to get a crisper looking video, as well as when you are panning your camera around, it looks a lot smoother and a lot less choppier than it did in the version 1. Now, does that make it an instant buy for you? Well, that's for you to determine on your own. One other thing to notice is that when you are using the version 2, the camera actually is set to pan up towards a human face. I will have a pop-up in the corner there to take you to where I have the raw video footage for the Cam Pan version 2, in which I was testing not only the camera itself, but to see what it would do with multiple targets. And as stated by Wyze, the Cam Pan version 2 does aim up at a person's face when it detects a person in frame. That also is taking precedent over if there's a pet in frame, which I did test out, again, over there in the corner if you're interested in seeing that. The last comparison and test that I did of the version 2 versus the version 1 was actual power usage. And in all aspects, the version 2 here uses less power than the original version 1. When it is just on and recording, the version 2 uses 1.8 watts of power. When it is in night vision mode, meaning all of those IR lights are on, it uses 2.6 watts of power. Both are steps down from the version 1. The only increase is when you are rotating the camera, which is 4.6 to 5.1 watts of power if the IR lights are on. That is a large step up from the original 3.8 watts of power that the version 2 used. Now, part of that could be the increased processor and the starlight sensor that are doing that, but just know, if you're going to be moving this around, which you're probably going to because that's why you're getting a pan, tilt, zoom camera, you're going to use a little more power than the original. That's not to say that that's bad, because those are not by any means large power numbers, but it is a data point for you to know, because I like to know actual electrical usage from somebody rather than just the stated usage from a company. Last but not least, the big question is, well, how much does this cost? And that is kind of tricky these days, because things change based on if you have a Cam Plus subscription, you can get things cheaper, whether we're finally out of the microchip shortage. But as of filming right now, you can pick up the Cam Pan version 2 without Wyze Plus subscription for about $40. That's not terrible for what you're getting from this. Is that price and the increased specs enough for you to upgrade from your version 1, especially if you're a legacy user and don't have to pay for person detection on the version 1? Are you thinking about upgrading? Let me know in the comment section below. With that being said, I have been Wanderer001. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the area below. And as always, thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, consider giving it a like, as that will help other people find the video as well. If you like what I'm doing here, you can always help fuel the next review by buying me a coffee, link in the description below. Last but not least, if you want to be notified when I upload a new video, you know what to do.